let's just jump right on in here. You and I, the rest of the team, probably for years, have been asked the question, not the one that's on the left side, the one on the right side. Why do people do this business? And that's where people kind of want to focus towards, but we want to kind of balance out both of them today.
You know, that's always strange to me, Eric, that people want to hear about the failures. I think they want to know, well, what is it that might cause me personally to fail? And, of course, you can fail in a lot of different ways in any business that you get into, folks. So it is important that you understand that there are reasons why people fail. Again, not just this business, but any business that you start. And we'll also show you by those examples why you can also be successful in this business.
Yeah, so let's just get right into this, and we're going to go into the first thing. And interesting enough, we know this for success. Success is defined as those who have failed, but learning each time until they get through breakthrough. Patrick, I mean, how often have you failed? I have failed until we get to a part of what we think is our own success.
I sometimes tell that story at our training workshops about all the things that I tried. You know, I refer to myself, Eric, as a serial entrepreneur because I just go from one entrepreneurial thing to another, or I did in the past. The last 23 years I've been focused on this business, of course, because it's been very successful for me and my wife. But I tried a lot of things and failed at a lot of things.
Yeah, and what I think we're going to find here is that just about every licensee has done some type of failure, and they've gone through some failure marks, but it's those who just haven't given up. They find that successful breakthrough. So really the number one question that we're going to deal with today is how many people fail at this business and why?
Yeah, that's a good point, Eric. There are numerous reasons why people do fail in any business, again, and so very important that people kind of take some notes here. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Before we jump into this question here, I don't want to lose, I hope I get your name correctly. Is it Young Karen? Asked the question, does American Business Systems help obtain customers? You want to answer that real quickly, Patrick, and then we'll get started with this number one question that we're going to deal with today.
Yes.
The answer is yes.
That's the answer, and you'll see how we do that here as we go through the webinar. So hang in there.
All right. So the first thing is for people when they try to get started in really any business, but especially what we found in this business, is they want to try to do something differently, really what we call reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, Eric, you told me earlier that you talked to somebody that had talked to one of our prospects. Is that right? What did that guy say? That's an interesting story.
Yeah, well, we had one of our prospects that's looking to get in business with us, and she has spent several phone calls with some of our references already. One in particular that she was telling me about today is that she had specifically working with one of our licensees that said this is the one thing I can tell you about how to be successful. Do what ABS tells you to do. Because what he says to this prospect says, I thought I knew a little bit more than what ABS could do. So I went to the training, I gathered all the information, but yet I tried to go do it differently. And I just found that I just couldn't make it. I wasn't getting any leads working. I wasn't getting any appointments to go see doctors. And they called us back up and says, what am I doing wrong? We set them right. And he just flat out told her, the best advice I can give you is this. You're not smarter than American Business Systems. Just do what they tell you to do.
There's a lot of people who think they're smarter than we are, especially, hey, and my guess is, Eric, just a wild guess, that person probably had some background in sales and marketing. Yes, sure. See, people think that would be an advantage. People go, oh, well, I don't know how to market or sell anything, so I couldn't be successful in this business. And it's just the opposite is true. The more you know about sales, probably the harder it's going to be for you to be successful in this business.
I'm sure, yeah, and we already know that because there's even Cynthia Anderson, who has a degree in marketing. When she first started off, she said the same exact thing. So I think we're going to find out that a lot of people fail in this business simply because they're just trying to do something a little bit differently. So what we say is follow the system. Patrick, that's sort of your mantra. Just everybody just follow the system.
Yeah, we originally named our company American Business Systems because just like a franchise, Eric, technically we're not a franchise, but we refer to ourselves that way because that's how people think, right? It's very similar in that the franchises have a system. Here's how you make a hamburger. Step by step, they show you how to do that.
Yep.
We have a system for going out and getting clients and servicing those clients. And if people follow that, we know that they are successful. That's why we have dozens and dozens and dozens of interviews from people who've been through our training and are successful.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
but if people don't follow the system and they think, oh, I can do this on my own, I'll figure this out and do some things that I think would work instead of what they teach me, usually they fail.
Exactly. So what we're going to do, we're going to walk you through this afternoon what the system looks like. Patrick, whenever you and Linda and really your children got this started, the system was very small. It was very compact. But from there, it's grown into all these different services, along with all of the other parts of the system, so to say, that we're going to be looking at this afternoon. So just kind of take us on a little history of where you I guess, your own failures to make sure that the system is working properly.
Well, we started out, as you know, Eric, just doing billing for doctors, not having any other ancillary services like these that we've developed over the years. But what happened was our licensees, once we started teaching people how to duplicate our success, me and Linda, then they would go out and talk to doctors, and the doctors might ask a question about, well, are you able to help me with my patient collectibles, for example? Right. Well, yeah. So we actually did some research and found a system that can automatically follow up on the patients who, they're self-pay or they don't have insurance or maybe they're just the portion of, that they're supposed to owe. Doctors don't collect but about 50% of that. Well, we figured out that there's a way to collect up to 98% of that, all totally automated. You don't pick up the phone. You don't actually mail out any letters yourself to people. It's all automated online. And it works, and that's one of the systems that you see right there. That's the Quick Collect system.
Yes, and then we have all the rest of these, and we have all of these ancillary services. And I know a lot of people ask, Patrick, well, how many licensees actually utilize any of these other services? But more importantly, it's these ancillary services that may be the key to actually help you get into the doctor's office. They may not use those, but it's given our brand new licensees a big pool to kind of work with some different tools to get to those doctors.
Yeah, let me talk about these just for a second, Eric, because people don't realize that sometimes you need something a little different to approach a doctor. People ask us all the time, how do you guys sign up doctors who are either doing it themselves in their own office with their own staff, or they've outsourced their billing already? How are we signing up doctors every day? Well, it's because we've taught our licensees not to go in and speak specifically about the billing. They can speak about 7 or 8 other things there that the doctor may or may not be aware that they need some help in. For example, one of them there is Audit Guard. Doctors are aware that Medicare can come in and audit them and fine them up to $50,000 per infraction for breaking the HIPAA rules and regulations. So we have a service that actually solves that for the doctor. Sometimes they want to talk about those kinds of things, you see, instead of the billing. But once you've got your foot in the door with that particular service, all of a sudden now you're their friend, right? You're not an outsider, you're an insider. And so you just come back to them and say, hey, by the way, I also do medical billing. Let me just show you some of the advantages and maybe show them a demo of our system, which we'll talk about here too.
Yep, we'll do that.
So they're door openers. That's a good word, yeah.
They're great door openers. But again, it's following the system, including the one right here with AutoCard. I mean, because this isn't just it's a follow-up system, but it's all part of the system. Patrick, you and I both know how successful this can be because we tested it ourselves.
Yes, in fact, this one is so successful in following up your own prospects that we also teach our licensees how to use it for the doctor, to get their patients to come back in, to refer their friends to the doctor, and build the doctor's practice. Most doctors have no idea how to market their services, so they think of themselves as a medical practice, not a business. But bottom line, they're a business. They have to make a profit at the end of the month. So we can show them how to use that to build that as well.
Absolutely. Now, obviously, we know, you and I know, and the rest of the team knows, and all of us really here knows that the core of the business is the billing. And there is no other system out there on the market. We're going to explain this a little bit more detail in just a moment. But you can't just go in, and I don't want to jump to number 2 when we're in number 1 right now, but we're just saying follow the system that we have. We've got a vetted system, a vetted billing, EMR, patient portal, clearinghouse system that is really second to none out there in the marketplace.
Yeah, it's the total integrated package that doctors are looking for. So if you're wondering, right, folks, what is it that makes you stand out, this is one of the things. It's, again, a system.
Yes, absolutely. And part of the entire system is the live training. Patrick, why don't you talk about the live training in and of itself and how key this is in getting someone really shot out of the cannon, so to say, of becoming successful in this particular business?
Well, as you know, Eric, we have these training sessions here on a regular basis in the Dallas area, held at a hotel that you stay at, and then you, from 8 to 5 every day, sometimes up to 5:30 or 6, you're into this, learning this system from us. So we cram a lot of, it's kind of like a mini MBA in this business in that 1 week's time. And folks, it's not just lecture. This is hands-on. We bring in the laptops. They're right there in front of you the very first day. You're doing medical billing on our system over the internet connection there in the hotel by the end of that day. Yeah. And then, of course, there's exercises and breakout sessions and mastermind sessions and lots of information that you just wouldn't get. As some companies do, Eric, they'll tell you that they'll teach you over the phone. Basically, they have a phone conference call with you, and basically there's somebody on the other end reading a script, whether you need that information or not, because they got to get through it, right? They've been taught to read the script, and that's what their training is. That's not the same as live hands-on workshop.
No, I'm telling you, this is so key, and I know a lot of people, once they get to training, I hear this just about every single training. We just heard it this last Friday. We just closed out our training from last week, that they didn't realize how important this live training, and they're so glad that they came to it. So this is so key.
I've heard that from many people. Even by the middle of the week, they go, wow, I just didn't realize what this was all about. Right. I didn't know how much money there was in this industry. I didn't know how easy it was to use your system. I didn't understand how easy it is to sign up a doctor. And they're glad they came, yeah.
Absolutely. So this is part of the system. So you don't want to ever skip this part of the system as we're talking about and trying to reinvent the wheel, because it's here in another part of the system that we are trying to position you not just as a medical billing company, but as a certified medical revenue manager, being that subject matter expert.
Yeah, that's important in today's world, folks, because people want to do business with people that they think know about the product or service. Can you relate to that when you go into a Best Buy, or I'm just using that as an example, but any retail store, and you're asking about a product and the person there doesn't really know about that product? Isn't that frustrating? Right. So we teach you to position yourself as the subject matter expert by giving you the training, the information, the knowledge, and the tools that you need to go out and position yourself correctly like that. We'll show some of those tools here in just a moment.
We certainly will. Another part of the system is the marketing. Now, Patrick, this is where actually part of the live training that you actually get involved with. You want to explain your role in this?
Well, the marketing is so important because, Eric, back in the late 80s there, when Lynn and I were building our medical billing practice here in Fort Worth, I didn't really have any training. I didn't have any knowledge, didn't have any tools, because nobody was doing this really. I mean, there were people doing medical billing, but there wasn't a system that had been put together. So I would print up, create little brochures and things on my printer back then, probably a dot matrix printer, and print those out one by one, and that was my marketing tool. Now, you try to do that today, and you'd be laughed out of the office. You have to look like you are somebody bigger than someone just working out of their spare bedroom. You may be working out of your bedroom, but you don't want to look that way. So look, these marketing pieces, as you can see, have been designed by professional graphic artists and tested in the marketplace to prove that they work. They're slick, they're full color, they all look alike and feel alike, and it makes you look like a company that's much larger than you really are.
Absolutely. And I've had so many people, even today on the call, said, well, how do I get these doctors? How do I go about it? And I say, you know what, that's part of the training, but it's also part of the marketing. Again, you've got to follow the system. Now, what you've added, though, Patrick, on top of just those marketing slicks, those marketing flyers that we have here, you've actually added some books along with that. Now, explain these books, what they're used for, and how they are helpful for the licensees to become successful.
Well, first of all, they're actual books that you can buy on Amazon.com, but don't do that. Don't go out and find them and try to buy them, because if you want a digital copy of these, get back with the person who sent you the email to this webinar. We'll just send you a digital copy. But the point is, guys, that every one of these are tools that you will be using, branded with your name on them, to approach the doctors. So your contact information you see inside the book can lead the doctor to come back to you after they've read the book. Now, we actually teach people to market these up and highlight certain sections of them and put little flags on those pages so that when you hand it to a doctor, they don't have to read the whole thing. They'll be intrigued that you've marked some things there for them. And once they read those, I guarantee what will happen, Eric, is what happened to one of our licensees that I interviewed just a while back. She said, Patrick, I gave out 3 of those books marked the way you told me to 3 different doctors that I'd like to do business with in my community, and all 3 of them called me by the end of the week and said, you know what, I think you've described my practice here in this book, and I'd like to have that free practice analysis done.
There you go. Perfect.
It works.
It does work. And again, it's following the system. Again, had she tried to do something a little bit differently, she may not have gotten that type of results. And this is what's encouraging for us here at ABS as a complete team, because we are seeing people coming out of training and being successful. However, we do see people coming out of training and we don't hear from them, and we kind of know what's going on. They're trying to go do it a little bit differently, but yet we hear back from them and we get them back on track. So again, let me remind everybody, Patrick has just offered this new Thriving Medical Practice book as an e-form type of book, so a PDF. So get with your business coach that you're working with, and they'll send you a copy. So be sure to get back with them on that. Another part of the system that you mentioned, Patrick, is a practice analysis. What is a practice analysis?
Well, we tell the doctor, look, at no cost, no obligation, we teach you to do this, I should say, to go to the doctor's office or the office manager and say, look, I can do a free practice analysis and let you see whether there are advantages to outsourcing your billing. Now, if they're already outsourcing it, of course, you also can show them all the advantages of having our totally integrated system versus the piecemeal system they're probably using through some other medical billing company. So they basically go in and ask about, well, there's 3 pages worth of questions that we give you to ask the doctor. Once you fill that in, you go back to your office and create a follow-up practice analysis report. Yes. And you take that back to the doctor, showing them with their own figures how that you can sometimes save them and bring more money into their thousands of dollars a year, more revenue.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then what follows the practice analysis is what we love, and this is where we're engaged with our licensees, and that is a demonstration of the software on behalf of our licensees directly to their doctors.
Yeah, we're using technology just like we're using here today, folks, to connect with the doctor in their office. You can be on that call as well or in the office with the doctor at the time we do that, so you can hear everything that's said, every question that's asked, and I should say our technical support people answer all the questions that the doctor asks. In fact, Eric, I've heard many, many times the doctor at the end say, well, what do I do to get started? I mean, that's where the licensee then, of course, can step in and say, well, I'll come by tomorrow, I'll bring the paperwork, and we'll get started. But this is really cool because we're showing the doctor in real time, live, over the internet, just like they would be using our system, the actual interface, and going through that step by step with them. Eric, you have done some of these, of course, so you could probably talk a little bit more about that. But I hear the doctors say, wow, a lot during these.
Yeah, I just got through with one for this last Friday with a licensee, and we're getting up to set up the next one because this was just for the one that we did Friday was for the practice manager and then one of the doctors. So they wanted to kind of vet this whole thing out first of all, and then it's the licensee sent me a text and says that was awesome. We're getting ready to get the rest of the group. So now we're talking 4, if not 5 doctors of a part of a group that we're about to do this whole demonstration for. So it is powerful of being part of the entire system.
And remember, folks, we don't charge anything for these types of things. All your support and ongoing help from ABS, once you're a licensee, is included in that licensing fee of $25,990. That's a wrapped up deal. A one-time, lifetime fee that you pay, and you get these demos. Eric, we could be charging $100 for each one of these because aren't we closing more than half of these?
Yeah, it's more than half, close to 75% of the ones that we're doing. So absolutely.
So Eric, I don't know of any other company that does this. We literally are partners with our licensees, and the reason for that, folks, is because we do make money on the back end through our technology partners, as well as the license fee that you pay us up front. So we have a vested interest in your success. We want you to sign up as many doctors as possible because we make a few pennies on all the transactions that go through our system.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's the win-win for everybody.
Right.
We're helping you, and again, it frees you from having franchise fees and royalty fees, percentages that you're having to pay back to American Business Systems.
Exactly.
But we don't get paid until basically you get paid. So we're here to help you get your doctors. So that's part of following the system. Now, after doing the demonstration, now follows up with the contracts, and we have the entire contract out ready for you already. So you don't even have to go reinvent contracts. Patrick, this has been vetted not only by our attorneys, but other attorneys for the doctors themselves, and it's pretty solid.
Yeah, and as you can see, we have a nice presentation folder there on the left, and then when it opens up, it looks like they're on the right. So you're putting some of those flyers that you saw earlier, those slick, glossy, full-color flyer, inside that folder, along with this report. That's a report of what the practice analysis found. And right. It's very powerful, very professional, all done for you, as you can see, from templates, and you simply delete the things that maybe you're not interested in offering to the doctor, and just have your contract ready because it's a done deal at the end of that.
And I think as we wrap up this part of number 1, we're still here, don't reinvent the wheel or reinventing the wheel. The most important thing that you can do is stay in contact with support.
Yes. Yeah, this is a picture of our actual support department with one of our technology partners. There's over 75 people there in that room ready to take your phone calls and guide you through. Folks, we hold your hand. Once you've signed up a doctor, we hold your hand and the doctor's hand and train you and the doctor exactly what to do step by step so that you never have any questions about that. You never have to feel like you're lost or having to make it up on your own.
And not only are you getting the training, but there are going to be some things in the system, the iClaim system and the EMR system, that the doctors are going to want to customize. Support is there to help customize that as for that doctor as well, because the iClaim, we want that to work for the doctor. We don't want that to be another boat anchor for the doctor. We really want it to work for the doctor. So obviously, we want you to follow the system here. Patrick, we've spent a good amount of time right here just on number 1 about reinventing the wheel. And I'm making sure. I think we just got one question that finally has come in here.
Yeah.
When we offer those other services, do we have to monitor those for the doctor? And is there anything besides the billing we have to do for the doctor? That's from Antonio.
There are some things, Antonio, that you will be involved in. That quick collect system that I mentioned earlier, you can administer that for the doctor so that they don't have to worry about that. So there are some things, but remember, you're making money on each one of those things that you're doing for the doctor as well on the back end. So you'll never be working for the doctor or spending any time that you're not getting compensated for it. But a lot of the services, Eric, I can think of probably most of them actually, the licensee, it's kind of a turn it over and the technology does it for them.
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. All right, so let's jump into the second area where we find a lot of people failing at this business, and that would be they have no product differentiation. Patrick, you want to talk about that real quickly?
Yeah, all that means, folks, is that in the marketplace out there, you're going to have other companies, of course, that are trying to get the billing from the doctor's office, and you have to have something that makes you stand out, like that little bluefish there. Everybody has to have something that's very unique in the marketplace nowadays, or you don't stand out in the crowd. And we've got some things that'll make you stand out.
Absolutely, and that's what we're going to follow along right now. So, folks, if you don't mind, we know sometimes you just hear Patrick and I talk, but we really want to turn your attention to your screen here, because this is what we're about to show you is, I think, is very critical in you figuring out whether this is the type of business, is it medical billing, and if it's medical billing, what's going to make you stand out from any other medical billing companies out there.
Eric, this is so important. Why don't we turn off our webcams just for this slide or two here so that they can really see that big on their screen there. I think it'll make it enlarge it there on their screen.
Yeah, let me make sure there we go.
Yeah.
All right, so folks, I want you to really pay attention to what we're going to show you here, because this is so critical. All right, so if you go to market to any doctor right now, what you're going to find is something very typical scenario. This is what we call conventional billing. You see up in the left-hand corner up over there, you have the doctor. And I'm going to get my little pen over here and I'll mark this up a little bit.
Yeah.
So here you have the doctor. And when they see their patients, they have to put their notes on something or in something. In this scenario, what they're doing, they're putting it in what's called a super bill. Okay? So understand what the doctor's doing. They're seeing you as a patient. They're going to mark it up on a super bill, or they're going to end up putting it on what's called an EMR system. But hopefully you can see what's occurred. The only thing that has changed is what the doctor's doing. However, everything else below pretty much stays the same. So what we're talking about here, I'm going to draw a line right through here just to show you that anything below this line basically stays the same between this slide and this slide. And we go back and we take a look at either way, we're just going back and forth between these two slides, and you see that nothing else changes. So let's talk about what's happening below the line here. Let me erase all of this and get my little pen back out. What we see here is that when the doctor gets through seeing the patient, they're going to send that information to a biller who's going to put it in some type of billing system. That person is then going to put it into, or going to create that claim, and it goes from that billing platform directly to a clearinghouse. You can see that the clearinghouse is now this middleman between biller and payers. So this is the payers, this is the insurance group, this is all the insurance companies that are actually going to pay the doctors back. If the claim goes through successfully through the clearinghouse, then it's going to be sent over to one of the insurance companies to be paid. What you don't see is a way for this system to communicate directly to the insurance companies. So again, whether we are looking at whether a doctor's putting information on a paper super bill or they are putting it in through a EMR system, you can still see that the only thing that changes is what the doctor is doing. So when Patrick and I are talking to you real quickly about you need product differentiation, So it doesn't matter if you say, you know what, I don't really want to use ABS, I still want to get into medical billing. The only thing you're going to be able to give them is the scenario that you see below. No business different model at all. Now, let's move forward to our system. We have a different business model. We have a completely different business model in that you can see now that that clearinghouse is actually inside of our system. What is that allowing us to do? It allows you as the medical billing company to present a completely different product out there. Because now, instead of you sending a claim directly to the clearinghouse and then wait to see whether that claim gets cleared or not, we can see it done internally. And then now we can communicate directly to the insurance companies through our system, and we can communicate, the insurance companies can communicate back to our system. So it eliminates a completely huge step in the processing of medical claims. Patrick, this is, if anybody is thinking about getting in medical billing, you've got to have something different. You don't need to have the doctor do something differently. You as a medical billing company needs to do something differently. And what we normally hear, you and I have always heard in the past, is that from other billing companies, hey, I can lower your rejection rates, or I can get you paid faster. But how can they do that with the same business model? It's kind of like that interpretation of insanity. You're going to do the same thing with a different expected outcome, and it's not going to happen.
That's right. So again, folks, this may be a little technical for some of you, but just remember that the system that you use is important. It has to be different from everybody else's out there for you to be able to get their rejection rate down below 2%. Mm-hmm. And most companies, most software, most systems, most clearinghouses cannot do that. Their rejection rate overall nationwide for doctors is around 30%. And so imagine how much more money you can collect each month for the doctor with a system like this.
No doubt about it. Now, when you pull all those pieces together, now we already showed this earlier in the first part of it where it talks about follow the system. Because we have a complete, what I like to say, Patrick, a very closed-in system. Within our system, we have a patient portal where the patients can log in either from an iPad at home or from their computer at home. They can literally check into the doctor's office, complete all the paperwork that needs to be done. And it's really not paperwork. They can complete everything at check-in that you would normally have to do at check-in, and it's going to go not to somebody at that office there. It's actually going to go directly into the doctor's EMR system. So imagine that you could check in from your home. You could tell inside of the patient portal, say, doctor, I'm coming in because I've got a sore throat. I've had it for 3 or 4 days. It hurts on the left-hand side. It feels, rough and cruddy and whatever. All the notes that you put in there, that gets dumped into the doctor's EMR system. So you don't have to duplicate that again, and neither does the front office have to duplicate that into the doctor's EMR system. When the doctor gets,
I'm sorry, but you made this, you made a term there that might be a little confusing in that when we say that information is dumped into the EMRX, he means that because this is a cloud-based system running over the internet in real time, the information is immediately available to the doctor. We don't have to import it. It's just there. Anytime he's using the system, he would see that instantaneously, even before he sees the patient.
Absolutely. And then when the doctor gets through seeing you, you can go back home and review your entire medical record that you had with that doctor that entire visit.
Right. All of his notes are in there. Any prescriptions that he gave you, everything is recorded there. Yeah.
Then once that gets done, when the doctor gets through seeing you as a patient, it automatically goes into the billing side for you to do the billing. Patrick, you talk about a different product out there in the marketplace. There is no other product out there that does what we're doing, mainly because Clearinghouse and all these other pieces we have inside of it.
And look, folks, if you're still kind of fuzzy about all this and want to see it in real time, just get back with the person who sent you the email about this webinar, and they will arrange for you to see it live, one-on-one. We will show this system to you so that you have no doubt. You'll see it with your own eyes, and you'll be just as amazed as the doctors are when they see the demo.
You got it. So we would love to demonstrate this for you. Give it a look. While we're doing is skimming the surface right here, but what we're trying to at least demonstrate for you today on the webinar, even though it might be a little technical, as Patrick has said, we really want to show you that we really are giving you and setting you up as that subject matter expert. We're giving you and propping you up with something new that no other billing companies actually have out there. You talk about eliminating your competition. This is one of the ways to be able to do that.
That's right.
Patrick, Mario is asking the question before we go to our last final part. Can you use or incorporate the information you learn from American Business Systems into your own business?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I have no doubt that there's people who attend these webinars, Mario, to obtain as much information as they can, because maybe they can't afford to buy their own business right now. They just don't have the investment set aside. So they're trying to figure out on their own. We'll give you enough information you could probably figure out how to do medical billing at least on your own. We'll point you to all sorts of resources and give you tips about marketing and that kind of thing. So yes, just come to these webinars every Wednesday at 4 o'clock Central Time and continue learning. Sure.
Yeah, and another part of that, Mario, everything that you do learn from us, once you become a licensee, you'll be able to use everything that you have here as an independent medical billing company. It's not that you're going to be a franchisee of American Business Systems and you've got to do things certainly a certain way with us. You've got the freedom and the flexibility to take any part of this information that you have and incorporate it in your business and make it your business. So absolutely, you can customize this to any way that you want to be able to do.
Yes.
All right. So Patrick, let's get to this last one, and I did a lot of talking on this one. This is where you are going to get to do some of your talking here now, and that is right here when we're talking about having a successful mindset.
Yeah, now let me tell you why a lot of people fail, not in our business, but in every business. It's because of this mindset of success, and we talk about this in in the training workshop. Negative self-talk, the talk that's going on inside your head right now, that's either positive or negative, right? And so if it's negative, it means that you are not in the right mindset to be successful. We can show you how to change that. In fact, some of the questions that people are asking on webinars like this, you'll see here, like, why would a doctor use me? They can do it themselves, right? Don't they already have a biller? Don't they already have an EMR, electronic medical records? What if I don't get a doctor? What do I do? Those are questions that fall into, and it may indicate that you have the wrong sort of mindset. Well, we can change that.
Yeah,
amazingly, we have people who've done that.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about a few of those. I'm just going to kind of flip through these because you've actually interviewed every single one of these people, and the quotes that I have up here are direct quotes from these interviews that you've done with these folks.
Yeah, so here's Rene Hermes. Rene is from, I think it's Yugoslavia. Anyway, he came to Chicago, didn't know one single soul in Chicago, came through our training shortly after he moved here, and that was back in January of 2011. Wow, Eric, that's 6 years ago. He says, I did not know anything about medical billing. I started marketing to doctors in mid-February, and I had to make this work. I had quit my full-time job. That's a good reason to learn, right? And he says, I signed my first client in the first 45 days. So, Eric, here's an example of somebody who probably was having some negative stuff going inside his head, right? Because he didn't know anybody, didn't know anything about medical billing or the medical field at all in America. And he said, I just had to make this work. And had quit his full-time job. So, wow. There's a perfect example of how changing his mindset helped him go out and get his first client real fast.
Well, you talk about burning the ship at the beachfront. There's no going back. It is. I'm sink or swim whenever it comes to this. And obviously, I know Rene And folks, these folks that we're demonstrating and showing you right here, these folks you can talk with them. And the great thing I love about our references, Patrick, because a lot of people say, you're just going to give me all your successful people. Well, yes. However, every one of these are going to say, but listen how I failed, and don't repeat what I did.
Right. They do have good stories about having struggled at first and so forth. But the end result is that they come up with a very successful business, making a lot of money.
Yeah.
He has opened an office. He has people that work for him there in that office, and he's continuing to build his business. I can't even keep up with the number of doctors he's got now, Eric.
I know it. It's always growing. We got to do another interview with him soon as well, I'm sure. Juliana Madsen, I remember talking with her. She actually worked for Turner Broadcasting.
Yeah, she had a great job, paying a six-figure income. She said making the decision about leaving the corporate was the scariest part, but I needed more time with my family, and being my own boss was the driver. See, she had that mindset that I'm going to make this succeed for my family. And so she got her first client within the first 60 days, too. Yeah. Now, folks, that may seem like a long time to you, but this is a real business based on residual income. She's making from that first doctor probably income still after several years that she would have never made otherwise. And so is it worth it? Yes. If it takes you 60, 90 days, still, you've got a lot of revenue that you're going to make off of that doctor. So it's well worth putting in the time.
Yeah. And then Steve and Beverly Ryder. This is the great. You just interviewed her again a few weeks ago, but
yeah. Yes, I sat in on every webinar that I could get on, just like some of you have asked here today, can I learn? And she said, I had an IT background, and I was scared about having to learn the codes. You know, there's medical codes involved in medical billing, folks, and you've probably heard about those. The good news is you don't have to learn about the codes because we have all the codes built into our system. But she found using LinkedIn, LinkedIn.com, is a site out there, folks, where you can put your information about you, and she got connected with the gatekeeper to a doctor. So doctors aren't necessarily on LinkedIn, but their gatekeepers are probably. And now she says, I use social media and begin building relationships with office managers and doctors. So again, Beverly has the best mindset of anybody that I've ever seen, Eric. But at first, she didn't. She had to read my book, she said, and actually learn a little bit about reprogramming herself for success.
She did, and it took her even a little bit longer than just 60 days because, again, she was trying to do some things outside of the scope, outside of the system, and then once I think she got your book again, she reread it, she went back to the drawing board, so to say, got back to the basics, and then shortly after that is whenever she started seeing success again. So really, everybody that we've shown you so far, or any of the licensees that you might want to talk with, obviously they're going to have their failures, but what's different from those people than anybody else that fails is that these people never quit.
I think that's the key, Eric, to anybody successful in anything. Just like Edison, you know, he went through several thousand bulbs that didn't light up until he found one that did. Hey, I don't know what Mario's referring to here, but he put a note in the question box that just says, sweet.
Yeah, that was about incorporating a lot of the stuff that we were doing. Tanya, let's take her question here. And she was asking about, this is more about the system. She's asking, would you have to import all the patient's info into the system, or would you only be working with new patients, and why are more doctors not already using this system?
Well, first of all, she's right. You don't have to import all the old data that's there in the doctor's office because he may not ever see some of those patients again, right? But the new ones that come in, you input that into the system, and then they're there. You're building a database that's clean, that's not going to have any bad data in it. Now, it doesn't mean that we can't import the basic data for patients. If that's what the doctor wants to do, we can do that. But the nice thing is you don't have to. And the second part was what? Oh, and why are more doctors not already using the system? Well, it's because we just haven't got enough licensees out there telling them about the system, I guess. You need to get down here to training and be one of those people.
Yeah, absolutely. And matter of fact, Tanya, the whole part about importing patients, this is what I like to talk about, Patrick, whenever we're talking about doctors and who they're seeing. So it doesn't matter if the doctor's a cardiologist, a chiropractor, any type of general practitioner, whoever it might be. There's only really two types of patients that the doctors are seeing: new or existing patients. And Tanya, one of the things that you can learn about our system, if you end up doing a demonstration, you'll find out that whether it's a new patient or an existing patient, our system, since it's a closed system, and let me kind of go back over there, let me see if I can find that real quickly for you so you can see what I'm talking about. Since it's a closed system that we're talking about, like right here, we can internally communicate with the insurance company, which means I can check insurance eligibility in real time, whether it's a new patient or whether it's an existing patient. And that's where we really start to see an increase of revenue coming in with the doctor, because we're eliminating bad data that may be from a previous medical billing platform. We can fix that real time inside the system.
Yeah, it's just amazing how that the doctors can actually, before they spend time with a patient who's not even covered for this particular visit, they can let that patient know, well, you're going to have to pay, you know, up front when you leave the office in full. And so that saves the doctor a lot of time, because right now most of them don't have a way of doing that. Okay, Eric, wow, we did it. It's about 4 minutes till.
Yeah, so here's just real quickly. Remember, folks, this is recorded, so if you didn't get everything, go back and listen to it. You've got the handouts in your handout, so go download those right now, because we're not going to let this run too much longer. Go do that, and then go to the chat area, and then go get signed up to talk with a licensee next week. So don't reinvent the wheel. You've got to have new product, a different type of product differentiation. And you got to have a successful mindset. Patrick, I know we're getting close to the time, but I know that you like this quote. Whether we like Mark Cuban or not, we love the quote.
Yes, he says it doesn't matter how many times you fail, you only have to be right one time. Then everybody can call you an overnight success and tell you how lucky you are. I've had many people look at my success, Linda's success, our family's success in this business, and say, wow, what a great thing. But they don't realize it took us many, many years to get to this point where we're actually helping people duplicate our success. So we're just glad that we're there now.